we take an immense pleasure to introduce Sushri Nivedita Raghunath Bide. She has joined Vivekananda Kendra Kanyakumari as its life worker. She is having the responsibility of All India Vice President of Vivekananda Kendra Kanyakumari, also Vice President in All India Swami Vivekananda Sarda Shashti Samora Samiti. She has trained teachers of 65 Vivekananda Kendriya Vidyalayas, also coordinated Vivekananda Kendra Institute of Culture, Guwahati. As a regular faculty in All India Yoga, Shiksha, Shibiris and All India spiritual retreats conducted at Vivekanandapuram, Kanyakumari. Worked in the villages of 4 southern districts of Tamil Nadu for rural development as the principal of Vivekananda Kendra Vidyalayam Kanyakumari for rural children, as All India Secretary Education of Vivekananda Kendra. She guided 47 schools run by Kendra in rural and tribal areas like Andaman, Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh. She represented India in the international meeting of educational experts in Darwin, Australia, convened by UNESCO. She is a member of several national bodies and has written more than 13 books. A few notables: Swami Vivekananda in America, Bharatiya Womanhood Through Ages, Wake Up Bharat, Enlighten the World. And she has given talks in many places, in many countries. And she has organized and participated in national and international conferences. She is a recipient of Vantaniya Saraswati Tai Abde Award from Bharatiya Sri Vidan Vikas Parishad, Thane. Now we request Sushri Nivedita Bide to address the delegates on empowerment of women in the light of Swami Vivekananda. We request.
Revered Swami Abhiramananda Ji Maharaj, Swami Atmashraddhananda Ji Maharaj, and all the monks and brahmacharis of Ramakrishna Mission, invited guests, and my dear sisters and brothers, my namaskars to you all. The topic today for us to discuss for a few minutes is empowerment of women in the light of Swami Vivekananda. You know, it's a very pertinent topic, as we all know. It is also a misunderstood, controversial topic. Whenever we say an empowered woman, what is the picture that comes in front of us? What is the picture that is cultivated? You know, it is something like a woman who is free, who questions, who is angry, who is individualistic, who is also an achiever. So these are all various pictures that come in front of us. Now, in this audience, you know, the girls are sitting behind. I am unable to see their expressions. And many of you are boys sitting here. So a thought may come in your mind that what is the relevance of this topic to us, that is men? Maybe if it would have been a women college or a women convention, then that's okay. But why for us? You know, this topic is required for all. And why? That is what we shall see. First and foremost, a woman should be empowered for what? Unless that for what is clear, our empowerment process itself can go wrong. What is it that power is to be awakened and employed for? What is that power? And how it is to be awakened? For what it is to be employed, used? applied. Unless that is clear to us, we cannot proceed ahead in this topic. So it is in that context. First and foremost, as Swami Vivekananda had told, truth does not pay homage to society. Truth does not pay homage to society, whether ancient or modern. The society has to pay homage to truth or perish. And he gives an example. Example he gives of gravitational force. Suppose there is one person and he says, this Newton discovered gravitational law of gravitation and I don't accept Newton. As such, quantum physics has showed, the limitations of classical physics. So I don't accept Newton. So I don't accept gravitational force, and therefore, when I jump from the tree, nothing should happen to me. I should not fall down. If he says that and he jumps, or a person, he does not know what is law of gravitation. Generally, we all know if we jump, we fall down. But suppose this person out of ignorance does not know, and he jumps. Then, because he denies, he does not accept, or because he is ignorant, will the law of gravitation or the truth related to the existence spare this person? It will not spare. He will fall down. So same way, this whole existence has certain truth. If we don't accept that truth, if we reject that truth, if we don't take that into account while fashioning our life, while deciding the purpose of our life, then we will come to grief. That's what Swami Vivekananda says. The truth does not pay homage to society. Society has to pay homage to truth or perish. And what is the truth of existence? Swamiji says, it is oneness. Though we may appear so different, we are all different from each other sitting here. The trees are different, the animals are different, the plants are different. But we are not different. We are all interconnected, interrelated, interdependent to each other. Actually, it is the one which has manifested as many, ekoham bahusyam. And therefore, when I say I want to progress, I want to, become powerful, I want to have this, I want to have that. Who is that I? Is that I only body and mind? No, it is not. We all chant that shloka, Akhanda Mandalakaram, Vyaptam Yena Characharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I am that ever expanding continuous circle of consciousness which has manifested as all this, and that is my real nature. The Guru who has shown me that real state, my namaskars to him. So when I say I, yes, this body and mind very much belongs to me. I must cultivate it, I must sharpen it, I must keep it capable. That's true. But I am not only limited to that. My still expanding form is my family. Its still expanding form is society. Its still expanding form is this whole nation. Its still expanding form is this humanity, this whole creation. I am simultaneously connected to all this. To give another example, the cell in a body, its expanded form is the tissue. Its still expanded form is the organ. Its still expanded form is the whole body. And that cell has to follow the norms of the body. So suppose a cell says, no, I have nothing to do with this tissue, with this organ, with this body. I don't follow these norms and I will decide whatever I want to be. That is individualistic thinking. So I will grow at my own speed. I will do whatever I want, and if the cell starts thinking like that, cell starts multiplying at faster rate than it is required in the norm and the discipline of the body. We know that is cancer. Cancer is not any disease coming from outside. It is a cell refuses the body, refuses the organ, refuses the tissue and becomes individualistic. So same way in a society, in a country, in humanity, in this whole existence, a human being says, I should be happy, I should grow, I am important, let anything happen to my family, society is not important, nation I am not bothered, let anything happen to the nature, let environment go to dogs, I must earn more money. If like that the man starts thinking, if the way of life of man is fashioned on this individualism, consumerism, self-aggrandizement, then it is going against the norms of this whole existence, but it is part of this existence. And so he becomes the cancerous cell to this whole existence. That is why Swami Vivekananda says, they alone live who live for others, the rest are more dead than alive. Why they alone live who live for others? Because others are not others. Others are only our extended form, our expanded form. So family is my expanded form. Society is my expanded form. Nation is my expanded form. Suppose a boy is growing, a child is growing, and that child's only hand is growing. The all other body is not growing. It will not be a growth. It will be a disease, because only hand is growing, other body is not growing. So same way, taking this principle into account, Swami Vivekananda says, what just now also Swamiji explained to you, that our purpose of life has two dimensions in it. One is, I realize that inner being of myself, which is ever existent, which has no death, which will never crumble. Any situation may go wrong, but it will not crumble. Today the whole problem, of us, of the present modern humanity, of the youth, I will not say only youth, it is of everyone. The problem is this, we crumble very fast. We tell, oh, I am going to pieces. 12th standard result is to be announced and the police is to be posted at the seashore. In the TV, in the newspaper, helplines are announced. Because if my marks are less by 5%, I feel my life is gone. Facebook, I post something. Next day I want to see how many likes, how many comments. If the likes and comments are less, my mood is off. Imagine. And likes and comments are more, I am very happy. So meaningless. You ask any of your friend who has given like for whatever you are posting. After 4 days you ask him, hey, how was it? Then he will ask, what? He would have forgotten. By then he would have forgotten. You yourself think whatever like you give, how many likes you remember? Meaningless exercise, we are getting more engaged, with the immediate, with meaningless things. And what is permanent, that we are unable to hold on, unable to find, discover in life, and therefore nowadays all these expressions, I am going to pieces. And little things, people commit suicide. Such a precious life. It is because we have missed the purpose of life. So this is first thing. One is to realize your inner being, which will not crumble in any situation, which is your real nature, which is all your power. So discover that and come what may. Imagine Swami Vivekananda, a 30-year young man. Not a single person is known, no mobile, no internet, no aeroplane. And he decides to go to a country 10,000 kilometers away, 10,000 miles away, to represent his country, his dharma, his culture, his people, to collect money for them. How much love must be motivating him. And he is so firm. He goes there, he comes to know the Parliament of Religion is postponed. He said, doesn't matter, maybe it is to find a way out, because the delegation I cannot register my name. So to find a way out, God has given me 2 months. This is how every situation is faced if you discover what is that eternal source of strength in you. So that is one. Purpose of life is twofold. This is one. And the second is, my body-mind complex should be employed in the service of my larger existence, that is my family, my society, my nation, and the whole creation. So, this is the twofold purpose of life. If this purpose of life is understood, then to realize that inner being, it can be done only by two ways: self-control and sacrifice. It is only by that two ways you can do that. And that's what Swami Vivekananda harps again and again. Tyagena eke amrutatva manashuhu. Or self-control, self-control. You read whole of Bhagavad Gita, it is Atma Sanyamaha. Unless for anything in life, unless you know how to control your mind and body, you cannot achieve something higher and greater. And that is what in life we have to learn. That is what the life is meant to be. Each one of us, whether men or women. So this is the context. This is the context in which we have to see the topic, empowerment of women. Now, coming to the women. You know, first and foremost, we have to understand, a soul doesn't have any linga, that is the sex. It is neither male nor female. But the soul, in its journey of realizing itself, it takes to various lives, various bodies. And once it comes in the human body, it takes either male body or female body in different parts of the world. So now if a soul has taken to a male body, it is because the men have a specific bent of mind, some specific qualities. And those qualities are required for the further progress of that soul. If it has taken to a woman's body, then a woman has some different qualities, special qualities. And it is with those qualities she has to progress further. So it is not that a man is always a man in all the births. No. Sometimes he is man, sometimes he is woman, because it is the soul which is progressing. So if I have taken the birth of a woman, it means I am to experience, develop, nurture certain special qualities which I get endowed with my birth as a woman. And therefore I should develop myself in that. If you try to develop, the horse, if you want to train a horse like a bull, if you want to make him a bull, it will be neither a bull, it will be neither a horse, because you have not allowed him even to become horse. So first thing is, each one should grow in one's own special qualities, one's own real nature. Secondly, as we know, in our culture, which Swami Vivekananda also talked again and again, we look at women as expressions of Jagat Janani. In Saptashati it is written, which Swamiji also quotes, Vidya samasta sakala jagatsu, striya samasta tavadevi bheda. Mother, all the Vidyas in this universe, as well as all the women in this world, they are your own expressions, your own form, your own manifestations. So Swamiji, now we are going to start on a very difficult conceptual journey. And we are going to do that because nowadays in media we are listening, hearing, studying many different things. So a woman is a expression of Jagat Janani. And Swami Vivekananda says that is why in India for us a woman is mother first and mother last. She is always a mother. And till recently, means I will say till 40, 50 years, even now in some villages it will be going on. In our country, a woman was never just called by her name. She may be even younger to you. She will be called as mother. So Swami Vivekananda also, when he had gone to America, any woman he came across, and many women were his admirers, his followers. They used to come to listen to him, interact with him. Any woman he used to call as mother. And Swamiji says whenever I used to call mother, there used to be some different expressions on their face initially. Of course, because I was new, they didn't talk to me. But as we became more acquainted with each other, one woman, she asked me, why do you call me a mother? Am I that old? Do I look like your mother's age? Then Swamiji told, no, it's not that. We see Jagat Janani in each woman. So even if she is a small girl, she is the form of Jagat Janani. And this incident I was quoting in one of the youth camp. At Kanyakumari, youth camp was going on and I was quoting this. And one young man he told, Didi, you are telling this, but do you know, now if I go and ask and address even a girl as Didi, leave alone mother, if I address her as Didi, Didi means Akka, elder sister. So if I address her as Didi, she gets angry with me. She says, am I so old? So somewhere we have lost the meaning of why we were calling a woman as mother. You know, Swamiji gives the example. He gives the reason of this, that why we called women as mother. He says, because this is the word which has the least carnal desires attached to it. So when you address someone as mother, your own baser instinct, the baser desires, get tempered, moderated. See, we are all not saints. All are not saints. In your mind, some wrong desires may come, but somewhere we need to control them to keep the harmony, the atmosphere in the society intact. We need to control it. And how do you control it? It is your own attitude towards women which will control it. If continuously a woman is being presented as consumerist object, and that's what is happening today, very sadly. In our days, means when I was young, the atmosphere was healthier. I know what a difficult situation you are all facing. You go on internet, you go on Facebook, you go on TV, anywhere you go, it is only, the baser instincts are awakened again and again and again. And how do we modulate them? How do we temper them? How do we control them? What is the mechanism for that? What is the mechanism for our interactions so that our interactions remain healthy with each other? And that is what our Indian culture had told, see the motherhood in a woman, and she is a mother. So, learn to address her, look at her as mother, respect her as mother, and it is that which will control your baser feelings and bring out the best in you. That's how Vinobaji also used to tell. He used to tell, a woman is the basis of all the great, grand spiritual qualities in the heart of men. You see in all our Indian languages, the great qualities, Kirti, Shanti, Daya, Kshama, Bhakti. These are all feminine words. All are feminine words. So all these qualities, a woman is basis of that, foundation of that. If you ill-treat her, you lose these qualities. If you respect her, you nurture those qualities in you. This psychological great fact was understood by our culture, and that is why Swami Vivekananda says, in India, a woman is mother first and mother last. Second, she is a Shakti. Jagat Janani is a Shakti. We know this whole universe is manifested not because of Shiva, because of Shakti. Shiva is present, but it is because of Shakti. And Shakti is neither good or bad. Please understand this. I am going to conclude my speech also lastly with this incident only. But I will tell that in the last. Shakti is neither good or bad. Shakti is Shakti. How you respect her, that brings out the best in Shakti. If you disrespect her, the bad thing in Shakti comes out. I will give examples. You know, fire is a Shakti, and Shakti is always twofold. So fire, you have to respect. Respect means you have to keep the fire properly. You cannot put your hand anywhere, anything you can put. Nuclear power is again a Shakti. The weapons, Shakti. You cannot just keep a gun anywhere and play with that. Accidentally, you may kill someone. You have to respectfully treat it. Have respect for it. But all these examples, fire, nuclear power, or weapons, whether knife or gun or anything, this is all Achetan Shakti. Achetan means it is inanimate. Someone else needs to handle it. Please understand the difference. A woman is not Achetan Shakti. She is Sachetan Shakti. Not someone should handle her. She is herself Shakti. She is Sachetan. And it is she who has to carry herself, her Shakti properly. And it is the men who have to respect that Shakti, to bring out the best in it, the Shakti which will help them in construction, in connecting, in nurturing, and not in destruction. If you disrespect her, that Shakti comes for destruction. So, a woman is a Sachetan Shakti. And Sachetan Shakti, you know, the control has to be from within. Today, for women, unfortunately, men and women both, this control is not taught at all. In one of the programs I was sitting, and I will not tell you which place, a principal was along with me on the dais, principal of a college in which 5,000 women were studying. And unfortunately, that principal, because of all this talk of empowerment and all, you know, she, in her speech, she is telling a woman is bound, she is in a bondage because of her family, because of her religion, and because of her culture. She should break all the three bondages and come out. We are disregarding the basic truth of this universe. We are all interconnected, interrelated, interdependent. This is what in the West, the women liberation movement started. They started telling a woman should break everything and come out. She has a right over her own body. She has a right over her own freedom of movement. Why she should not roam in the night? Why she should not go anywhere she wants? And the women liberation movement started in West. It flourished. Women got social freedom, economic freedom, but the families broke down. 48% children are single parent children. Some children do not know even who is their father. A woman is, mostly it is a woman who is single parent. She is taking care of children. She is unsafe. She is insecure. So the Betty Freda, who had written a book, Feminine Mystic, because of which this women liberation movement flourished, she realized her mistake. She wrote another book, The Second Stage. And she said somewhere we went wrong. We talked of women liberation. Actually, we should have talked of human liberation. We said that we will break everything and come out. But a woman has got more enslaved because of that. She has become more insecure. Our direction went wrong. It is more by loving, by serving, by caring alone, we can really bring the happiness, the liberation, and not by breaking. But unfortunately, you know, it is like that story, you know, once the devil in that bottle has come out, now how to put him inside? Not possible. The women are suffering in all these countries. They don't know in what direction they have to go. And that is where India has a great role to play. Indian women, Swami Vivekananda used to say, if only their intellectuality is improved, because they don't have exposure, they don't have education. If that alone is given and they retain their great spiritual nature, then Indian women will be the most ideal woman in the whole world. And that is the challenge in front of Indian women today. Not only women, it is also men, because it is how we respect our womanhood. On that depends the progress of our Indian womanhood. So that is a great challenge that is put in front of us. Swami Vivekananda has given this work to us. You know, as we all know, you must have heard here, as you are here since yesterday, that we are born in a very special country. India has to guide the world in spirituality. Spirituality means what? This oneness. How we live a life interdependent, interconnected with each other, how we realize our inner being, and how our life is in the service of our greater forms like the family, the society, the nation, and the whole creation. We add to the harmony to that. And in that, Indian women have a very great role to play. She is a Shakti. So, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, Shakti is always Vidya Shakti, Avidya Shakti. That is a Shakti which connects, a Shakti which nurtures, a Shakti which constructs, and a Shakti which destroys, a Shakti which, throws everything to the pieces. And women being Sachetan Shakti, it is in their hand what Shakti they will manifest. Whether they will manifest their Vidya Shakti or whether they will manifest their Avidya Shakti. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, a very beautiful chapter, 10th chapter, he is telling how divinity is manifested in each category. So he says in rivers it is manifested in Ganga, in mountains it is manifested in Himalayas, in trees it is manifested in Ashwatha, banyan tree, and like that he goes on telling one after other. Then he says, in the wielders of arms, it is manifested in Sri Rama. In the men, it is manifested in king, because king has all the powers. Then when he comes to women, he does not say in women it is manifested in queen. He does not say that. He says, in women, it is manifested in kirti shri vakcha narinam smritir medha dhruti kshama. In each woman, this divinity can be manifested to the maximum by these 7 qualities. Kirti Shri Vakcha Narinam Smrutir Medha Dhruti Kshama. These 7 qualities are endowed. Each woman is endowed with Kirti. Kirti is a quality. Kirti means that quality in me which makes others follow me. And a woman has that quality mainly in relation to her children. The children imitate mother. Whatever mother does, they do in the younger age. And you may be knowing 75% of your personality gets decided by the age of 6. And up to the age of 6, it is from mother that you learn maximum. So how much a woman can do? In primary school, the primary teachers, they influence children like anything. Kirti, Shri, very great description, explanation is there, but we will see briefly. Kirti, Shri. Shri means the contentment with which the money is handled. Only the right money will come in my hand. If a woman stands firm in a house, no corruption can take place. That is her Vidya Shakti. Kirti Shri Vak. Vak is the capacity to talk. You all know, brothers sitting here, if you want to convince your father, you don't go directly. What do? You ask your sister. Or you ask your mother. Because they have a knack. You know the story of Savitri. You know how Savitri convinced even the god of death. While walking with him, she convinced him so nicely. Just talking, and she got her husband back. Vak Shakti. Kirti Shri Vakcha Narinam Smriti. Smriti is the memory power. The women have better. And that's why nowadays in all 12th standard, 10th standard exams, women are getting more, no? You know why? Because our exam is memory based. And they are more sincere, their memory is also better. And this is what the memory was used as Shubha Shakti by our grandmothers, mothers My mother, morning she will start at 6 o'clock up to 10 o'clock. So many stotras, beautiful poems of Savarkar. All that she used to chant while cooking, while cleaning the vessels, while sweeping the floor. She will not talk anything else. From 6 to 10. All she had learned by heart. And listening those poems in which Savarkar says that those lives which are for the country, they, even if that family, suppose, doesn't have children later, doesn't matter, that family becomes immortal. Ashicha fule fulati, fuloniya sukoni zati. Very beautiful poem. And that made impact on us. When people ask me, how did you join Vivekananda Kendra at such young age? I tell, this is because of my parents. So this is what her Shakti is. That Smruti Shakti. Our mothers, I will give you another very beautiful incident. Sister Nivedita, the disciple of Swami Vivekananda, when she used to go out to collect money for her school here in India. So when she was touring, one person asked her, oh, but the women of India are illiterate, isn't it? Then she said, no, the women of India are highly literate. So they said, what are you telling? We have the all statistics. The women of India are literate. She told, what do you mean by literacy? Do you mean by literacy only reading and writing? Then the women of India are illiterate. But according to me, literacy is not reading and writing. According to me, literacy is knowing the highest, knowing the literature of the highest minds of our country. And the women of India know that. They know it by heart. They are highly literate. Today we are having education. I can read and write. But do I really know the elevating thoughts that are there in Valmiki Ramayana, in Ramcharitmanas, in Tirukural, Akka Mahadevi's songs? I do not know. We are not literate actually. We only know reading and writing. So that's what she had told. So Kirti Shri Vakcha Narinam Smrutir Medha. Medha means holistic thinking, synthetic thinking. That is synthesizing thinking. The men have analytical intelligence. The women have synthesizing intelligence. So they see the thing as a whole. They don't see as part. And that is why she can take care of a child. She can take care of a family. Even if somebody scolds her, she will not keep that in mind forever. She sees the whole interest of the family and then she takes care of the family. Then, Dhruti. Dhruti means to keep together, hold together, not to give it up. Just imagine a girl, she marries and comes to a new home. Everything is new. All persons are new. Maybe practices are new. Eating habits may be new. But she calls that her home. And she suffers. But she does not allow that family to go to dogs. That family to break. She does not allow. It is such sacrifice of women. It is such dhruti power of women that even today the families of India are intact. And it is that power, that dhruti power needs to be awakened. This medha power needs to be awakened. This vak power needs to be awakened in Shubha way, in Shubha Shakti, as a Shubha Shakti. And you may be knowing, even our economic problems did not increase because our home savings are good. And why our home savings are good? Because our families are intact. You save for family, you don't save for yourself. You only spend for yourself. This is another very big topic. And lot of research is being done in this. How our families have supported our economy in our country. And that family is kept together by the sacrifice, by the dhruti of woman and kshama. The last is kshama. So all these 7 qualities need to be awakened. Now the problem which has happened, there are different types of Shaktis. One is gross power, or the analytical intelligence, or the initiative, or going forward, which generally a man does. And a woman, she holds on, she contains, she nurtures. She doesn't allow things to go to pieces. And that is what she does. She is a subtle power. Swami Vivekananda used to say the power of doing and power of suffering. And Swami Vivekananda said the power of suffering is much more than the power of doing. He gives the example of Sita. He says we are all children of Sita. You know, these are all very difficult concepts. That's why it needs lot of time to understand. But I am putting it in front of you because I think you are special youth. You will take more efforts to understand this. And this power of suffering which women have, because of which they nurture, they keep things together, they connect together, they are a subtle power. I will again give the example of gross power and subtle power. If you have seen a person with a paralysis, you know, his muscles are okay. Muscles were okay till this moment. But somewhere the nerve stops working, the nerve gets affected and therefore the muscle cannot work. The muscle is a gross power, the nerve is a subtle power. It is the nerve which makes the muscle work. In a family, man's nature is different, a woman's nature is different. If a woman also starts behaving like a man, or both start behaving same thing, both are either arguing or both are shrinking, the family cannot proceed ahead. The family problems will increase. So a woman knows, she says, okay, you are the boss, but actually she is the boss. You know that. She knows at what time she should properly communicate her thought to her either father or husband or brother or whomsoever it is. Now these special powers in a woman, she should understand it. She should develop it. And that doesn't mean that she should be meek. I am not suggesting that. If there is a need, as Sharda Ma's incident is there, she was so soft, so silent that Sister Nivedita used to tell that even to talk about her is making noise. You know, she is like a silent Ganges flowing, silent garden breeze flowing. And yet, when once in Kamarpukur, one man, you know, he entered with wrong intentions. Like a Kali, she sat on him. So both these powers are required. But mainly we are to nurture, to connect the things, to keep the things. And therefore, we have to develop this subtle power, this power which creates, which nurtures. And that is a great challenge today in front of us. Many times when I talk in women forum and I tell these ideas, the women ask me, why do you tell only us that we should sacrifice? Then I tell no. The sacrifice, that is the tyaga, the atmasayam, is ideal for men and women both. But the way a woman should deal with the situation is different than a man generally deals. And that is what a woman has to understand. If we want to keep our family together, then I tell them that, do you know, today in management, you know, you must have heard a concept called as servant leadership. They say you can really lead the people by serving them, by loving them, by being subservient to them, by bringing out their best to the fore, to the front. You can really lead them. Servant leadership. For top CEOs, you know, the management workshops are conducted, how to develop the servant leadership. And in our country, the women already had developed this servant leadership. They had this. And that is how they manage the homes so well. But I don't say that it means a woman should only manage home. That freedom should be left to woman. If she wants to be housewife, happily she should be a full-time mother in a family. And she should not feel degraded for that. Because that is also a great job she is doing. She is leading the house by servant leadership. If she wants, I will take care of home and I want to work also, even that freedom she must have in the society. But where she goes for work, there again, it is her these great motherly qualities which brings harmony, which connects, which nurtures, which creates a higher atmosphere. That is what she has to create. And that is the challenge in front of the women of India. And in front of the men also. So when we talk of empowerment, I always ask the men this question. Sometimes in some workshops and all, they say we have to empower the women. Who are you to empower the power? She herself is power. And who are you to empower her? What do you mean by you want to empower? Then I quote this Swami Vivekananda's incident. Somebody went to Swamiji and asked, Swamiji, what do you think? Because in those days widows could not remarry in certain caste. So they went and asked, what do you think? Whether the widow should remarry or not? You know what Swamiji answered? He told, hands off. Who are you and me to decide whether a widow should remarry or not? Leave it to a widow. The women are capable to decide. You have put bars, obstacles in their education, just remove that. She is capable, she is Jagat Janani herself, she will take her own decisions and that is right for her. You and me cannot decide. So this condescending attitude that we will decide what is right for women was never there in Swami Vivekananda's life. He said the women of India are capable. So that is what we have to respect the motherhood, we have to respect the women, whether she is my younger sister, my elder sister, my mother, my wife, my relative, my neighbor, or an unknown woman on the road. Anyone, she is mother to me. It is that attitude that has to be inculcated. Maybe it will not immediately, but we have to slowly train our mind. We have to learn to respect the power, and then the best in the power will come out. I shall, as I told you, this is a very, very difficult challenge in front of all of you. But because you all have come for this convention, that itself shows that you are different than the general youth. At least some spark is already awakened in you. And that is why you have come here. You knew, it's not that you did not know, that if you come here, you have to get up early in the morning, you have to sit quite long, there will be meditation, there will be this, there will be that, and yet you have subjected yourself to all this difficult schedule because you want to really do something different. You have that spark in you. And therefore, I am keeping this thought of Swami Vivekananda in front of you, that it is not only our own personal life, that is too little a thing. Swamiji said, it's not even making India great, that is too smaller an aim. India has to guide the whole world, and it is for that India has to come up. Now when we say guide the whole world means, if it is in computer, if it is in space technology, missile technology, the world is also progressing, we will also progress. We are not going to guide the world in that. What we want to guide the world is how to balance, the material life with the spiritual life. How to balance it. How to balance, the personal growth with the collective growth, the harmony in our larger existence. It is that what we have to guide the world. How the family life, how the social life, how the educational system, how the commerce, everything, even the political system should be based on oneness. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. The Vedanta should become practical. That oneness should be practiced in life. So a family based on oneness, what does it mean? When I address the young couples, I tell them, you want a working wife? Fine. Now she is working, she goes. She goes, she works, she comes back home in the evening, you also come back, and then you tell, oh, I am very tired. She has also worked, you have also worked. If really it is based on oneness, you will understand this, and then you will tell, okay, today I will take care. You will start helping in household work. You will not say, okay, no, house you should take care, family, your job also you should take care, the studies of children also you should take care. We will not be like that. If oneness is there, the atmiyata, that is the feeling for others is there. Suppose I have a pain in one knee, then when I have to walk, the other knee will take the load. So same way, this family life based on oneness in today's context, how it will be. In olden days, the functions were different, that was fine. Today, how it will be? We have to work for it, we have to think for it, we have to be sensitive to it, we have to discover, we have to develop, we have to establish certain norms in family life. How educational system based on oneness will be. So this is what all the great challenges are there in front of us to make Vedanta, that is the vision of oneness, practical in life. And it is in that context the empowerment of women becomes very important, because by nature she is a mother, and the mother connects, she sees all as her own. And therefore a woman, Indian woman, has to give the leadership to the women of the whole world. And she is endowed with both the wisdom today, the worldly wisdom as well as the cultural strength, the cultural attitude. And that is the question I am putting in front of all of you, whether we can rise to the occasion. And as I told you, I will conclude it with one incident, from Sri Ramakrishna's life. In one of the youth convention only, one youth had asked me question. He told me, please tell me whether a woman is good or bad. Tell in one word. His question was, tell in one word whether a woman is good or bad. I told, it is in your eyes, whether she is good or bad. And then I gave him the incident from the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was so much in sadhana and so much lost in sadhana. Everywhere he was seeing mother. So sometimes while doing worship, he will put the garland in his neck first, then he will put in Kali's neck, or first he will offer prasada, then he will do abhisheka, because everything had become one for him, and always singing Ma Ma, thinking of her. So Mathur Babu, who was the trustee of that temple, he was a worldly man, so in his own way he thought that this Ramakrishna is young, his wife is not with him. In his own way he was thinking. So he thought that he should be brought down to the earth, and therefore I shall take him to a prostitute. He decided to take Sri Ramakrishna to a prostitute, and he took Sri Ramakrishna to a prostitute's house. And Sri Ramakrishna went because Mathur Babu called, so he went. Then when they sat in that prostitute's room, whatever it is, as in those days was the practice, first they will sing or dance or whatever, and she is doing all her bodily movements and singing, and Ramakrishna is watching. Mathur Babu is watching Ramakrishna, what is happening. First he was thinking Ramakrishna may get angry or whatever it is, but he is watching. Then he thought, oh, whatever he thought is working. That's what Mathur Babu thought. And this prostitute, she is singing. When all her song and everything was over, you know what Sri Ramakrishna told? He told, Mother, what all forms you take, really? What all forms you take? In what all ways you come? When he said that, in that prostitute eyes, tears came. She said, first time somebody is calling me mother, seeing me beyond my body, seeing my motherhood. You know, she is a prostitute. He was taken to a prostitute, and still he sees only the Jagat Janani there. So a woman is neither good or bad. She is a power, but she should realize that she is Shubha Shakti and express that Shubha qualities in her, and it is the men who should see the mother in her. It is that alone can really bring the great security and the great positive change in our social atmosphere today. Thank you.
Swami Vivekananda says, if you do not raise the women who are living embodiment of Divine Mother, don't think that you have any other way to rise. That country, that nation, which do not respect women, have never become great, nor will ever be in future. The background of these sayings of Swami Vivekananda under the topic empowerment of women in the light of Swami Vivekananda's messages, this Jagat Janani highlighted the interconnectivity of a human being with the universe and the purpose of one's life, the role of both men and women in empowering the present status of women. We bow our head to respect her with pranams and thanks for her wonderful lecture on empowerment of women. Thank you, madam. I now request Swami Mangalatmananji Maharaj to present a memento to Susri Nivedita B.D.